This week on Full Circle Florida, facts versus fiction, reality versus fantasy. And we start with the economy. Are we okay? The White House says yes. The Fed cutting rates, the stock market shattering records. Your 401k looking strong. Unemployment holding at 4.3. But then this week, Amazon goes ahead and lays off 14,000 workers to pour cash into AI. Tech isn't creating jobs, it's killing them. And now experts warn the AI boom could collapse like the dot-com crash 25 years ago. You've got dueling realities in this country, what people feel in their lives and what leaders keep telling us. Janelle Irwin-Taylor joins me to cut through the spin. Property taxes, fantasy or reality? The governor wants major tax reform, but the math doesn't add up. Cut taxes? Fine, but then who pays for fire, police, schools? Is it another condo law rush job in Tallahassee? Pass first, fix later, and leave locals holding the bag. Forrest Saunders with me, the inside view from the halls of power. And my deep dive, AI and the future of work. Amazon says progress means fewer humans. Are we really okay with that? Sacrificing jobs for faster delivery? Are we that addicted to convenience? Where do you fit into tomorrow's economy? All right, let's get right into it. Janelle Irwin-Taylor, publisher of Southeast Politics, is here with us this week. Okay, first of all, it's hard to know if we're okay right now, whether you're talking about the country, the economy, one and the same perhaps. If you're just reading the headlines, it can be confusing. The Fed is slashing interest rates. Economists say, expect the price of money to go down. That could spur investment. Stocks blasting through records. But then in the same week, Amazon cuts 14,000 jobs so they can go all in and chase their AI dreams. So is there a credibility gap here between Washington spinning, or in particular the White House, and their spin, hey, everything's fine, the seeds are starting to produce fruit, versus what people are feeling in their day-to-day lives?
That really is the crux of politics, isn't it? Like what the perception is versus what the reality is, and they don't always match. And I think that we are absolutely in a situation right now where the perception does not match the reality, because on paper, our economy is chugging right along. There are some signs of concerns, for sure, and everybody is kind of sitting around going, when is this bubble going to burst? And so far, the economy has proved itself to be incredibly resilient, and that hasn't happened. But people are still paying more at the grocery store. They're still paying more for, especially in Florida, insurance costs, rent, affordable housing is non-existent.
Well, health insurance is about to hit people in a big way.
That's a whole other conversation, isn't it?
and it's all tied to the federal shutdown. A lot of this is tied to whether or not we can continue to afford health care as we know it in this country, and the subsidies that have been propping up Obamacare. But at the same time, I wonder is the economy so fragmented that it actually insulates us as much as it divides us? And I'm not saying that's a good thing. In fact, I don't know if it is. I don't think it's a good thing at all. Does it protect us from a full-on economic crash if the economy is splintered? Does it mitigate the damage, but it also makes it easy to ignore that there are people feeling real pain right now, especially if you're an employee, say, of the federal government and your SNAP benefits are about to run out. But if you're not in that situation, you're not feeling that.
It's a really complicated question. And first of all, I am no economist, so I don't pretend to understand how the nitty-gritty particulars of this work. But I will say that just because we haven't experienced, a great recession a la 2008, doesn't mean that we're not still experiencing some of the things that happened through that Great Recession. Housing markets have stagnated largely. Prices are still very high. They've come down a little bit, but people aren't really buying. The cost of just everyday goods to stay alive are very, very high right now. So that pain point is very, very real. So whether we're insulated, whether we're going to see a crash like we did in 2008, that's a big question, and I don't have the answer to that. But I don't think it matters because the pain is still there right now.
Well, and let's talk about the people in power. Congress right now, it feels like they quit on the country. I mean, they leave D.C., they haven't done their job. What's up with them? I mean, honestly, I know healthcare is at the center of this, but you got to figure this out at some point. You got to do something.
Well, and this is where we have President Trump now coming out on Friday saying, or late Thursday maybe it was, saying, we need to get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah.
And this is something that Republicans have historically opposed because they know that when Democrats are in power, that could be bad for them. So they don't want to open that Pandora's box.
That's basically, you don't need the 60 votes to pass something. So it's majority rules, whatever we want, we get. 51 will do it.
Which would end the shutdown right away because they would have the votes to make it happen. Right now, they need Democrats to vote with them.
What else would it do, though? I mean, if you go by that operating procedure, what are you setting yourself up for potentially?
Exactly. If that happens now, if we do away with the filibuster now, let's say in the midterms, Democrats win back some seats and they get the majority in the Senate. Then all of a sudden you're looking at Democratic priorities that no longer are subject to the filibuster that could get ramrodded through. So the argument against ending the filibuster is that it opens the door for hyperpartisanship in policymaking, and whereas the filibuster stops major policies from passing.
Yeah.
Unless there's some bipartisan agreement.
And here's where the rubber hits the road. I wish I could do an instant poll of 1,000 people right now who are feeling economic pain. Do they care about that? And that's where we intersect. How much are you willing to sacrifice for democracy versus getting a sandwich that you need to feed your kids at the end of the day? I mean, it's a great question. And I think for the people who are about to lose their SNAP benefits, right,
those people probably don't care what's done as long as they're able to buy their food.
Next on Full Circle Florida, property tax revolt. DeSantis pushing for rebates, but can schools and cops survive the funding slash? Welcome back to Full Circle Florida. With the legislative session kicking off January 13th, property taxes now shaping up to be the marquee showdown. And it's Republicans versus Republicans, with Democrats mostly on the sidelines, eavesdropping in on the family feud. Here's my check-in this week with Capitol correspondent Forrest Saunders. Forrest Saunders joining us from Tallahassee right now. So, Forrest, how realistic is DeSantis' all-or-nothing play here? He's got no veto over ballot measures, so if the House and the Senate go with their multi-option for voters to decide on the ballot, does the governor's vision even make the cut?
Great question. Well, he's got two problems. Number one is he doesn't have an actual policy proposal yet. We keep hearing that is coming. And number two is whatever he proposes does have to get through both chambers, and the House seems pretty satisfied with its multi-pronged option that it wants to put before voters in the 2026 ballot. So even if he does come up with some proposal, he's still going to have to get through that chamber. And listen, if you've been following Florida politics for the last 365 days, you know that the House and DeSantis haven't exactly been getting along. So it's already an uphill battle for him, but he does have the one power that other lawmakers don't, which is he has the bully pulpit, and he's been using that to great effect throughout his tenure. So we'll have to see what happens.
He certainly has. Meanwhile, who pays for the property tax cuts? Schools, fire departments, police, they need that money to fund themselves. House Speaker Perez floated sales tax cuts, but the governor says that that's a tourist handout. Any viable plan to keep local services humming, or are we starting another condo bill scramble here?
Well, I think if you look at the House measures that they've proposed, right, they do have carve-outs for education within homestead exemption. So basically, if you're paying part of your property taxes to education to help fund schools, that is going to remain under the House proposals. They also say that they have protections in local budgets to basically protect police and fire. Now, DeSantis, his proposal goes a lot broader. It doesn't have those protections, at least he says it's not going to, for education. And that's one of the reasons why House Speaker Danny Perez has said, well, where is he going to make up those billions of dollars lost for education if he does propose this broader homestead exemption for properties that have been here in Florida for a number of years? And that's the big sort of issue between the two right now. DeSantis calling the House stuff, half measures and milquetoast, and Perez saying, this is a mysterious proposal that's not even on paper yet. How are you going to pay for this?
Right.
You're going to backfill it with state coffers? Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense either.
And we should remind everyone, this is Republican versus Republican. Does this signal DeSantis's broader political ambitions, or is this just healthy debate in the era of a supermajority rule in Tallahassee?
This feels a lot like 2025. If you can remember, as we were ramping up for the 2025 legislative session, we had this big fight over immigration, and then it morphed into the budget and sales taxes and where to cut and make things more affordable. I mean, ultimately, lawmakers and the governor did come to an agreement. We did get a budget passed, but it took more than a month of overtime before that happened. And now I'm starting to get PTSD because it's starting to feel like that all over again. Republicans are already fighting ahead of this legislative session. And so it's signaling at least that this is going to be another bumpy ride for the next 60 days when session kicks off in January.
And you've got a floor seat to it all. Forrest Saunders in Tallahassee, thanks as always. AI's job apocalypse. Amazon axes 14,000 workers to fuel the bot takeover. Your future next. Welcome back to Full Circle Florida. Is artificial intelligence killing jobs faster than it's creating them? This week, Amazon cut 14,000 jobs. Those are real people now out of work, just so the company can go all in on bots. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Or are we sacrificing the human workforce for push-button convenience? How bad does it get before it gets better? My deep dive this week with AI expert Daniel Jarritos. So Daniel, thanks for stopping by to talk about this. This is very much in the news this week. Amazon just cut 14,000 people. They laid off 14,000 workers to pay for artificial intelligence, their technology that they want to use. What do you think that says about how fast this is now moving? How many white-collar jobs are going to get eaten up? Blue-collar jobs going to get eaten up? Real talk here. What do you think is coming in the next 5 to 10 years? This seems to be accelerating even faster than what people were predicting.
Yeah, I think, firstly, I think it's probably not going to be as dramatic as we think, although it is going to be a bit of a shock. But I think a lot of those roles are going to be moved around into other positions, basically. I think there's still a lot of management roles. Managing AI is not as simple as like unleashing it on your company and then letting it go. So I think that's, it might go slower than we think. Sometimes we think technology is going to fire out at us, but actually, we get a good 10 years for it to adapt. So in saying that, there are going to be challenges, and, like we're seeing at the moment with the jobs going and then seeing where those people land. Essentially, those people need work and they need to be buying things from Amazon and Apple. So they need to get back in the workforce at some point.
And I want to believe that. I want to believe that in the end, technology creates jobs. It doesn't destroy jobs. But Amazon, Google, they're all saying AI first, no new hires. Which other industries are about to get hit like this? And isn't this just going to make the rich richer? I mean, I hate to be so cynical about this, but that's how people are reading it, at least this week. It sounds like you're saying, short-term pain, long-term gain. We have to make some adjustments before we see the benefits.
Yeah, that's right. They're saying no new hires. That's a lot that has to do with the fact that they need to find the new roles to manage the AI. So, that takes time. You can't just go, this is a whole new system implemented into, systems, whether they're admin roles or, coding roles. AI can be used for a lot of things. So I think figuring out what those new white collar roles are and then, getting them, rehiring them at some point. And then, others will have to find other things, to keep them occupied in terms of work and training and figuring out where they can find maybe smaller companies to go to, or starting their own business even.
Yeah, I mean, in the utopian vision of artificial intelligence, I've heard people say, get used to the 3-day work week, that maybe that's where we're going, and we use this technology to make our everyday jobs easier and lives easier, and then we get to figure out what life is for and living it. But when we talk about reskilling for the workers, easier said than done. It sounds nice, but what actually works? What should companies and governments do so that people don't get left behind, like what we saw with, factory automation, or even just exporting, how America did it and our economy did it, was we exported jobs overseas, and now we're trying to undo that. At least the Trump administration is trying to, with the tariff war with China, although a lot of people say that's unrealistic. It sounds like this is another Pandora's box, genie in the bottle, and once you let it out, there's no putting it back in.
Yeah, that is definitely a case, and that can be very scary, especially in terms of on a personal level, in terms of security, and that's something that we're going to have to stay on top of. Just like any technology, maybe this more than others, because we're scared of its having a life of its own. But I think we'll figure out ways, and I think we're going to have more time than we think, like I said, and as it unfolds over the next few years, or next 10 years or 20 years, we'll put into place securities, I think. I mean, we're going to have to. We don't have a choice. So I think we're going to do it, and I think it's going to be an important part of, rolling out AI.
AI is already doing the data stuff, the customer service stuff that got those Amazon folks apparently fired. Where's the human, going to win in this thing? Are we kidding ourselves? Will AI actually make jobs in the end? You're saying it will. We just have to figure out what those jobs are going to be.
Correct. Yeah, and AI, the human factor, where is that going to be? I think there's quite an important role for it. I think in human business, and when people have the opportunity, most people are going to want to prefer to have a human touch in their business, whether that's going to a restaurant. And, even if they're taking your order digitally, sometimes, we're going to want that. And I think we're going to want that for a long time. A good example of that actually is the self-checkouts at supermarkets, which turned up, 20 years ago, or even less in some countries. And I would have thought that would have been already, a thing that everybody just does, self-checkout. Right. You don't even have a human option. But there's still a huge demand for it, no matter where you go in the world. Absolutely. Whether it's Germany or Texas. People want to be served by a human.
The people that, the lady that, I don't know her name, but she knows my name, and at the local grocery store here, and she knows what my kids do, that they're into sports. I mean, I enjoy the conversation. It's nice. And I'll tell you the other thing, I was on the phone with my insurance company the other day, and it was the whole automated maze you got to go through. And I finally, because they weren't understanding what I was saying, and I finally just said, help, again and again, and it triggered sending me to an actual human being who then got my questions answered and saved the day. Otherwise, I would have been stuck in the hamster wheel of AI for the next hour, or who knows how long. If the layoffs keep coming, are we going to see rules about using AI to fire people, or is tech just going to run too fast for anyone to catch up? Is there a role for policymakers and the government to say you can't, if you're going to lay off 14,000 people, you got to figure out how to create 14,000 jobs? Or should it be laissez-faire, let the market figure it out, and government interference is not the answer?
Yeah, we're going to have a bit of both. We're going to discover the culture of AI and then set rules based around that. We don't know what's, again, we've got to play it by ear, like you said, and we're trailblazing. I mean, everybody is, not just America. So there's a lot of good ideas being thrown around, and I think, I'm sounding very positive about it. There's going to be a lot of issues too, but I think, we don't have a choice with a lot of this stuff, and it's probably not going to be as hard and as scary as we think. If we look at how we, adapted to the internet and how we adapted to computers in the first place in the 80s, it's a long, slow process, but we always get scared in the beginning. But I think a lot of the time it turns out in our favor.
Fortune favors the brave, as they like to say. Daniel Haritos with the Switcheroo app. Yeah. Thank you so much for your insight into this whole new world of artificial intelligence. Appreciate it. Our final thoughts on the week that was when we come back. All right, we are back with our panel guest this week, Janelle Irwin-Taylor from Southeast Politics. Okay, final thoughts on this week. I'm left with health insurance. Open enrollment is next week. Can we afford health insurance in this country anymore?
So this has been a perennial question. Republicans are obviously very much opposed to the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Mm-hmm. So, there is a big question about what do we do to replace it if you don't like it. So that's going to remain a question. But I think the bigger cost issue is, can Americans afford the premiums? And with what is happening right now with the government shutdown and the premium subsidies expiring, that is going to price millions of Americans out of healthcare, and it's expected that a couple million people are just going to go without.
I just wish that if I, needed something, they would just tell me what the price is up front. And not a 3 months later, fugazi, hey, $3,000.
Upfront pricing is a big part of the healthcare conversation. So stay tuned, especially at states with legislative sessions. So stay tuned on that.
Janelle, thank you for being here as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you for watching us here on Full Circle Florida. We hope you'll join us again next week, and make sure to add our free 24/7 streaming news channel, Tampa Bay 28 Plus. Have a great week.